What a day we had in the stock market today, guys. The S&P 500 went up 1.5%, the Dow went up 1%, the Nasdaq 100 went up 2.2%, and the Russell 2000 went up 2.5%. So we need to break down some technicals, go over stocks I'm looking at, and what my thoughts are in general, plus some call options I'm looking at right now. So sit back, relax, take a sip of your coffee, and let's get right into the video. So look, SPY completely broke out of the downtrend today. On the 4-hour chart, you can see we're above the moving averages, both the 50 and the 180 SMA. We broke above 412, we broke above 415, and we closed above 416, and now we're above 417 in the aftermarket hours. So the biggest resistance, I'd say, at this point in time for SPY is right around 418 to about, I'd say, 420, right? 418 was resistance in the middle of April, towards the end of April, and 420 was resistance more towards the end of April and the beginning of May as well. So at this point in time, we are breaking out on SPY, that is. QQQ is a different story, and we'll talk about that here in a second, but on SPY, we're breaking out. And on the 5-day, 5-minute, you guys can see the price action from today and from yesterday, and we really got the notion that the bulls were taking charge today when we saw in the pre-market how the highs from yesterday broke. And the highs from yesterday were 412 and about $412.30, and both of those broke in the pre-market session. And once the market opened, this thing completely exploded. It went up to 415, and 415 tested, which was also a big resistance from the 4-hour chart. That's right where the moving averages were, right? And 415 broke with no problem, and we filled the gap all the way to, like I said, 418. So for next week, bulls need to break 418 and 420. Then from there, I mean, all-time highs are a stone's throw away. No joke. I mean, we could get to all-time highs maybe even next week at this rate with how sharp this V-shaped recovery is looking. Let's be honest. This looks like a very sharp V-shaped recovery. And looking at the VIX, I mean, the VIX was a disaster today. VIX was down 19%. Volatility completely died out. It seems like it went down from about 23 roughly down to about 1870. We had gold go up and silver. So it was pretty much green all across the board. And pulling up QQQ, you guys can see this one is not out of the woods quite yet. We saw how SPY is breaking out. QQQ is a different story, right? We ended up closing right under both the 50 and the 180 moving averages here on the 4-hour chart, and we're struggling still at 326, 327, which was that double bottom support from earlier in the month of May. So until we break out of, let's say, 327, 328 here on QQQ, I don't think the bulls are going to have as much steam as they think, right? But don't get me wrong, and this is why I have an alert at 328. The second we break 328, I believe QQQ could fill the gap to about the 180 moving average here on this time frame and get to that level of support from back in the middle towards the end of April, which is now resistance, right? And that's at about 335. So for next week, if we fail at 326, we might be going down 323. Heck, maybe even we go down to those low points from yesterday. But if we break 328, watch out for another big pump in QQQ and obviously the tech stocks, as QQQ is an ETF that tracks the NASDAQ 100. So those are some quick thoughts that I have now on the markets and kind of what is going on or what went on during today's session. And I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know down below in the comments, and feel free to smash that like button. I challenge you all on this beautiful Friday. Let's try and get 200 likes on this video. Hit that like button. Let's try to get 200 likes, and let's start talking about some stocks here that I'm looking at heading into next week. And I believe the first one, they report earnings not next week but the week after, and that is NVIDIA, ticker symbol NVDA. And this is a stock that hit an all-time high of $650 back in the middle towards the end of April, right? And it just hit $550 literally yesterday. It went down a little bit under that, 545, roughly 538, I think it looks like is the low here. So we were down well over $100, down about 17%. Now, since we recovered up 4% today, we're down about $75, down 12% from this peak. And they report earnings on the 26th, so 12 days from now, whatever day that lands on. Probably not this Wednesday. Yeah, not this Wednesday. The next Wednesday after that is when that is scheduled for, right? NVIDIA's earnings. And at this point in time, look, we're seeing a death cross forming. We're seeing the 50 SMA crossing under the 180 SMA here on the 4-hour chart. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to dump, we're going down to the dirt, right? If we end up gapping out of these moving averages, NVIDIA could go straight to $600, right? Even though we are seeing the starts of a death cross here, you know? So I'm thinking, okay, we break 575, so I'm going to put an alert right there now. If we break that point, we might be going $600 heading into earnings, and especially if tech continues this overall snapback that we got today. You know, if tech pushes up, QQQ goes to that 335 level we just mentioned, I'm thinking NVIDIA goes $600, no problem. And from where we are now, that's about 4 to 5%. And who knows, we could end up picking up some call options. And I don't know if I will necessarily, but we'll see. You know, we'll see how that ends up going down. But I like NVIDIA. I like NVIDIA here as we are starting to see some push. So that is ticker symbol NVDA. Shout out to everybody in Doordash. I posted on my not my Snapchat. Gosh, I don't even use Snapchat. My Instagram earlier. And by the way, follow me there. It's @StasSurFest. Same with Twitter, @StasSurFest. Make sure you guys follow me there. I showed you all what these options that expire today, the call options that expire today, May 14th, what they look like for Doordash. And let me tell you guys, these numbers were insane, right? Doordash went up 22% today. They had a great earnings report. They got the snapback that I was talking about a couple of videos ago, right? And the options, right, and call options, and you guys probably know this, but if you didn't know, options allow you to leverage a bet against a specific stock, right? In this case, the options, the call options that expired today, they went up hundreds of percent. Some of them went up 600%. Some of them went up 900%. So to give you guys perspective, let's say you put in $1,000 yesterday in these Doordash calls, or maybe 2 days ago, you'd be up from 1,000, maybe up to about $6,000, 8,000, 9,000, depending on timing, of course, and where you bought and sold. But overall, those options were crushing it today. And now you see Doordash is at a big resistance, right? And would I necessarily buy it here? Probably not. I feel like the move has been made from 110 up to the mid 150s, right? Now we're trading right at a lower high, potentially at about 140. The previous lower high was at about 160. So if we end up dumping back under the moving averages here on the 4-hour chart, since we are trading above them, if we end up dumping under them, that is going to tell me, look, Doordash might sell off, might go down to 120 again, maybe down to test the low again at $110. But if you're bullish on this stock, what you would want to see, technically speaking, would be a breakout of $150 and a move up towards the mid 160s, which was that high from the end of April. So I'm going to set an alert at, let's say, $148. If 148 is able to break, maybe we could catch a trade, a momentum trade up to about 165. That could be about a $15 to $20 move. In other words, 10-12% roughly, right in that area in terms of percentage of profit available in this gap. So I'm watching Doordash, and again, guys, those options were on fire today. Cheesecake Factory, I'm watching the dip on this. This is ticker symbol CAKE. This one hit an all-time high, or rather, probably not an all-time high. Well, it's a high here on the 4-hour chart. Let's see Cheesecake's all-time high. Okay, it's $67, so we're pretty close to that. But on the 4-hour chart, look, we hit that high of $65.80. We hit a low point recently, yesterday, at $55, so we shed about 12-15%. 3% of the stock's price. And today we bounced back about 3% at a higher low point at about $55. You guys can see the previous high was at about $54-ish dollars. So at this point, I want to see, especially on this hourly chart, will Cheesecake Factory break the moving averages at about $60 and make a turn back up to the mid-60s? That is where we could end up making some money on Cheesecake Factory. So in this case, I'm going to put an alert at $60 for Cheesecake. If we break that, you guys know, like I said, it might go mid-60s, and keyword, it might go. It doesn't necessarily have to go there because we're talking about it. I mean, I'm not some kind of wizard that could wave his wand and be like, oh, Cheesecake is going to 65, but I am looking at it as a possibility, right? So watch out for Cheesecake Factory. GNOG went ballistic today. GNOG, this is Golden Nugget Online Gaming. This is one that I bought, and I've been buying on this dip from $15 all the way to $10. I bought some yesterday at about $10.70 or $10.50, something like that. And all you guys on my Patreon get my buy and sell alerts real time. You all know that. That is linked right down below if you are interested. And this is a stock that, look, and by the way, it's a SPAC. It's post-merger at this point. And you all know the closer and closer a SPAC gets to $10, especially post-merger, the better it is, the better deal it is. So we're pretty much there. We hit $10.10 yesterday. We're down from $27 per share. So I want to accumulate as many shares as possible in this particular stock. And of course, I'm not going to load my entire account into this stock because it is more speculative for me. But for what I have allocated towards more speculative growth stocks, which is a smaller portion of my portfolio, I'm going to add to this one, right? I want to add as much to this one as possible from my allocation for, again, those high growth, more speculative stocks. And I'm buying it all day from $11, $10, $12. I think this is a very good dip buy. And you guys can see today it went up almost 8% alone. Tesla is another one, TSLA, which I'm watching here. As today we went up 3.2% roughly. And I like the way Tesla is respecting the mid-500s, right? Mid-500s, roughly 560, is where it held back in the beginning of March before it ran up all the way back to almost $800. And if you guys have been following my trades, right, you know that I was selling out of Tesla here at about $745, and now I'm looking to buy more, right? Now I'm looking to add more to my position again because I still have an existing position. And let's say if it breaks 560, that is where I'd consider adding more. But at this point in time, the fact that it's holding 560, we're rallying up towards 600 again, I feel like we might end up getting a relief rally, right? I feel like we could maybe fill the gap towards the higher 600s, maybe not next week, but at some point in the next couple of weeks. That's if 560 holds. Maybe we go back up towards the high 600s, and that could be an opportunity to obviously make some money on a trade with Tesla. And COP, ConocoPhillips, is another one, and there's been a lot of craziness around oil, energy. We're not going to get into that in this video, but overall, the energy stocks did well today. We have Exxon, we have Chevron, but in this case, I'm looking at ConocoPhillips. This one up over 4%, and based on the 5-day, 5-minute, we are breaking the downtrend, right? We're trading above both moving averages as well. We also got a golden cross here, the 50 SMA cross above the 180 SMA. So I'm thinking in the very short term, ConocoPhillips could end up reaching 59 again, $60, right where it was on the 10th of May, which was on Monday in the beginning of this week. So yeah, look for that, guys. Look for that, about 4 or 5% upside here on ConocoPhillips, ticker symbol COP. And now let's jump into my WeBull app and take a look at some options I'm personally looking at, some longer term calls here on particular stocks that I like. So I'll see you guys in there. Alrighty, guys, so here we are on the WeBull trading app, and let me show you those Doordash options before I forget. that those were crazy. Like I said earlier in this video, take a look at these. They expired today. Look on the left side. Look at these calls. This one went up 900%. The $123 calls. The 130 calls went up 488%. The $132 calls went up 780%. So there was a lot of money made if you were in these today. And let me know in the comments if you did end up trading the Doordash options. I would love to know. And for me, guys, I actually ended up selling out of this options play that I was in. And if you all were in my Patreon, again, you get my real-time buy and sell alerts on there. You know I bought the January 21st, 2022 $50 call options. They ended up closing up even higher from where I sold them today. You guys can see these right here are the ones that I bought. I bought them at $5.70. Now they close at $7.05, but I locked in the profit at $6.75. And these calls, guys, I might consider re-entering them maybe on Monday or Tuesday or some point next week if we do end up seeing a dip. And these were longer term calls, right? They expire in January, but with this massive pump today, I needed to lock in some profits, and I'm going to be looking again for re-entry at some point this week. And when I look at call options, guys, I am not as risky as some of you, right? You know, I'm not looking to buy the calls that expire a week from now, 2 weeks from now. I'm looking more at ones that are at least 2 months out. You know, even a month out is a bit too soon for me. I'm looking at least 2 months out, preferably, 4 or 5, 6 months out. And in this case, the June ones, or rather the January ones that I was in for DraftKings, they're about 6 to 7 months out, right? And some other ones I'm looking at here, I'm looking at Neo options as well, some Neo calls. As you all know, I've been accumulating shares of Neo in the 30s, low 30s, mid 30s, and I'd love to pick up some options to build some leverage into my Neo position. I'd personally be looking at ones that expire maybe even in 2022, maybe late 2021, like these December ones. Maybe I'd pick up some $45 calls, maybe $40 calls. These are running about $3 to $4, some $5, depending on the strike price here. And of course, you have to multiply that by 100. So if I were to pick up, let's say, a contract of the $40 calls, they're about $4.55 right now. I would have to pay $455 for these options, and that's the way that I could build some leverage in my Neo positions. So I'm seriously considering those maybe for next week or the week after to pick some up. Coinbase is another one that I'm looking at to add some leverage to my position. This is another one that I've been buying on the way down from 330 to 279. Bought more today in the 250s, and the ones I'm looking at for Coinbase here are these ones. I'd probably be looking at the Jan 2022s or maybe the March 2022s, and I'd probably go with a strike anywhere from $300 to about $330, and these are not cheap options, guys. You're gonna have to pay $3,000 for one contract, right? 33.1 is the ask here for the $330 calls that expire in March. You know, if you do ones that expire sooner than March 2022, they're obviously going to be a bit cheaper because you don't have time on your side for those. So let's say, for example, we wanted to take a bigger risk on the Coinbase options. We could end up going with maybe ones that expire in August, and you guys can see that premium comes down a bit for the 330 calls. You're only going to pay about $1,290 for those calls. So I'm interested at 330 calls. Probably, if I were a bit more risky, the August ones. If I wanted more time on my side, I'd probably end up going with, like I said, either the March or the January 2022 calls for Coinbase. Of course, Tesla's another one I'm looking at to maybe add some calls, especially if 560 breaks that support we talked about earlier in this video. You know, I'd probably be looking at the March ones for Tesla as well. Look at some of these calls. I mean, if we're looking at 670, you know, these are very expensive too. You know, $700 calls on Tesla, you're going to need $9,000 right there. You're going to need $9,000 to do one trade, with these, or buy one contract rather. And obviously, if you're buying 5, 10 contracts, you're going to need $50,000, $100,000, and I'm not going to be putting that much money into these calls. So yeah, I'm looking at those. Maybe I'll buy one contract. We'll see. And overall, in terms of options, that's what I'm looking at. And if you all want to check out the WeBull app, this is the WeBull app that you're seeing right here. I trade options on this app. Check out my link down below. You get 2 free stocks. Those are valued up to $1,600. All you have to do is open up a WeBull account using that link, deposit $100, and we each get 2 free stocks, and that is an affiliate link, just letting you all know. And those 2 free stocks do help me out, so I do appreciate all of you for using that link. And yeah, we'll wrap up the video here. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to check out my Patreon. If you want to see all the trades I'm making, buy and sell alerts real time for my portfolios, different portfolios I have, that is on Patreon, linked right down below. And don't forget to also get $30 free from M1 Finance. That's also linked down below. I'll see you all later on. Thanks for tuning in. As always, keep crushing the markets, guys. Stay safe out there. Peace out.